freeze this bad boy. There we go. And my senior project was mainly on comedy. Specifically, I wrote sketches, and I happened to film one for you guys. We have a lovely actor over here who was in them. And and also my research paper was about how laughter and really happiness in general affects you as a person. How it affects your body, how it affects how you interact with other things. Really cool. I was not expecting it to be so cool. And so, real quick, I'd just like to say, one of the biggest things that changed with me is before this, I never took comedy seriously because I always thought it was just a big joke. Yeah. Alright, yeah, so you guys are laughing, which means by the end of this presentation, you're going to know why that is good for you and why it makes you more healthy. Really the thing that I learned, I found a quote which I think summarizes it really well, is amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. Because so much of this project was me sitting around and waiting for inspiration, with the sketch writing at least. It was really hard for me to just kind of think of funny things and then push them onto paper. You know, I had so much trouble not only coming up with ideas, but also when I would get an idea, a lot of times I'd write like half a sketch, and by the time I get to that point, I'd just be so angry at myself rereading it, and so I'd throw it away. And I would toss the subject, I'd never look at it again. And that was really hard for me to kind of push through, because I do not like my own writing. So to have to continually revisit it was really, really frustrating. And, you know, I would try to like trick myself. I'd say, oh, you know, I'm just gonna exercise a little bit, maybe do some stream of conscience to come up with ideas. A couple times I would lie to myself and watch Netflix and be like, oh no, I'm watching this 8th episode of Parks and Rec because I'm just coming up with the ideas, which of course was horrible. That is not the thing to do, because the senior project, I don't know how many of you guys know this, is you just kind of get something in January and you figure it out by May, which is how it is in college. And there are deadlines, you know, to kind of keep you on track, which probably saved my project, because I'm not good at that. I'm not good at managing my time well. And one thing I will say that I'm so thankful for from this project is kind of getting that slap in the face early, because what happens to a lot of high schoolers is they go off to college, and they get these kinds of assignments where you have months and months, and then they just don't do them. And that's kind of what I did. I mean, not that I didn't do it, but I think I could have definitely used my time better. And this way now, I'm going into college with one of those types of assignments under my belt. Now, I was planning on writing something like 20 sketches, and I ended with 5. Again, this was mostly because of how often I'd throw something away, and you know, people would just say, oh, even if you don't like a sketch, just keep it around, edit it, you can always use it later. I did not do that. I would look at it and I'd throw it away. And the biggest problem with that, I think, is you're not learning anything from a failed idea. Oh, also I should mention with the sketches, for those of you who might not know, when I refer to sketch, I refer to like a short scene, you know, usually a couple pages, maybe even 1 page. And like if you've ever seen Key and Peele or Portlandia, those are sketches. Some of those are kind of longer, you know, and those are pretty big inspirations. Just if you're looking at the titles, you might know they're pretty weird. These are not everyday things, and I don't know what it is, but a lot of my sketches and ideas that I had either involved urine or Jesus. So, you know, just the weird parts of us come out when we're writing, I guess. I don't really know if a psychologist could kind of dig into that, what's going on. But hey, people are laughing. Hey, it's okay. It's jokes. It's all right. You can loosen up. I know it's a weird presentation, but it's okay to just laugh a little bit. And yeah, I don't know if I want to show the sketch. I filmed this one, 1,000 Ways to Get Baptized, right now because I want to make sure I have enough time. But I will definitely revisit that. I'll decide in the spur of the moment. Oh, another really cool thing about sketch writing for me is I want to be an actor when I grow up. You know, I want to go into acting. I think it's really something I like, and you know that part of my brain that says, hey, do that later. No, I think you should do it now, and sketch writing was kind of my push into that, because to be a good artist in any sort of field, you need to know every aspect. If you want to be an actor, I firmly believe you can't only study acting, you also have to study directing, stage managing, and writing. And that's really one thing that pushed me to do this, is that I wanted to just get some experience. I wanted to have something, even if I'm throwing away like 90% of my work, at least I'm getting work out there. And this was really good for me, because not only from writing can I now, and I'm obviously no expert, I'm still very new, and I'm very much an amateur, but now when I read a script, I might get a little bit of an idea like, oh, I can understand why the author would put that there. Or even, I only filmed one sketch, but even that showed me things like, as an actor, what to do to make the editor or the director better, you know? Or easier, I should say, have an easier job. And I really like that. I think that was good to get some multifaceted, if I want to be fancy, skills out there. So yeah, I would say it gave me a very cool new view of something that I want to go into. And it was also really humbling. I know I keep saying this, but writing was really difficult. You know, we have some teachers here, and I think how a good, not metaphor, but comparison would be, if you're in school for your whole life and then you become a teacher, one thing that I've heard from various teachers is how hard it is to make a test, or to make a quiz, you know, to make up questions and have other people answer them, which doesn't seem like a hard thing, in the same way that I wouldn't think that writing would be a hard thing. Because as an actor, you know, you just pick up a script and you go, oh, okay, I know how to make this funny. But as a writer, you need to then make not necessarily the script funny, but you need to make, I guess, you need to make potential with it. You need to make it potentially funny. Because obviously nothing's going to be funny unless if all the parts are working. And again, writing was good because not only was it so hard, but showed me a good way to, I guess, work with it as an actor. I don't know, I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out. But you guys probably don't want to hear about writing. You want to get to the cool stuff. You want to get to biochemistry. Right? Yeah! So I'm gonna as you can see, Ev's lovely face there, mid-sketch. Again, I want to get to this later, because I have a lot to talk about, and I don't want to just go way over. So if you guys remind me at the end of this to go back, because I will forget. So, also, I just added this in. This was my high-tech recording studio. As you can see, I have a good theater light and a little backdrop. It's very expensive, cost me a couple $100, no biggie. Because, you know, my sketches are just reeling in the money now. But really, the research paper, this topic, as frustrated as I was with my writing and how angry I was that it wasn't as easy as I thought, I was equally as surprised as how much I would like my topic. Because at first I was like, I gotta choose a research paper? No, that is stupid. If you guys do this, it is so much fun. School is fun! Yay! So, let me start with a quick riddle. We all know this. Which came first? The nitric oxide or the laugh? Any guesses? It's the laugh. But nitric oxide does relax your body, which might make it easier to laugh. Now, the reason I put this up here is not just to make you guys feel stupid, but it is to show how, well, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. What I should mention first is that a lot of my paper focused on laughter therapy, which I'd like to talk about laughter therapy, because when I first heard that, I imagined like a group of patients sitting around in like a circle and just laughing at each other. That's not what it is. A lot of times, laughter therapy is just watching comedy, watching some funny movies, a funny play, even skits. Okay, I'm already going too far, because it gets me very excited. But with laughter therapy, the way that they judge it is they usually measure chemicals in your body. They don't just say, how are you feeling? No, they want to know what chemical changes occurred in your blood, in your saliva, which I think is really cool. And as you can see, there we go. How do our bodies react differently to stress versus happiness? Because you can see this at a chemical level, which I found out, and that's so cool. Right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Dipod, it's a little pun there. I just want to point it out because I love puns. One of the things that people look for when they do laughter therapy is they not only want to look at the changes, but they want to look at what's the purpose of it. No one's going to fund any sort of research unless they can make money off of it. That's kind of just how it is. And with laughter therapy, they not only see an increase in happiness, as you'd imagine, because you're watching comedy, you're laughing, it's relaxing, but also they've seen decreases in depression, insomnia, increases in things like resilience, and I know I said insomnia, but also the quality of the sleep you get. This is all, mind you, just from laughing. Like watching a funny movie once or twice a week, and you can get better sleep. And if you suffer from things like depression, it won't cure it. I'm going to get into that later, but laughter therapy is not going to cure anything 100%, but considering how cheap it is to just watch something on Netflix, it's a pretty good, I think, solution to problems. This is really weird. What I found when I was researching everything is how many cases of people studying laughter therapy had to do with cancer patients and the elderly, which I thought was weird. I don't know, I thought you'd probably want to do it more with people who've been traumatized, but a lot of times, having cancer is horrible. It completely changes your life, and people will go to laughter therapy because cancer is also very expensive. You need radiation therapy, you need chemotherapy, and here on a nice silver platter is laughter therapy, which is not only low cost, but also will help with your day-to-day living. Again, it's not going to cure anything. It's not going to, you can't laugh a disease away, but you can better prepare yourself for dealing with that disease. And I don't know, I think, in all seriousness, that's a great application of laughter therapy. And now to joke around more, because, hey, it's a thing about comedy. This isn't actually a joke, but the reason I have, the cute kid with the, oh my god, it's a little puppy, and then you have the dipod, instant death, slow death, mega death. It's because not only does laughter therapy help you, and laughing in general helps you, because again, it's all based on the idea that laughing relaxes your body and it secretes these chemicals like nitric oxide, which make you happier, but also it's because they help with anxiety and depression, which have an equal chemical change in your body. People who are more stressed, that a lot of times that's what's going to cause things like the insomnia or like the lack of resilience. There are so many cases I found of people who will literally die from being too stressed. That was a thing in Japan that I found. Because after the bombs, like in World War II, after the two bombs, they blew up cities. It's not easy to rebuild an entire city after just losing hundreds and thousands of people, and so many Japanese citizens were literally worked to death. Like, I know it's America and you gotta be tough, but stress is literally a killer. And I think if you have, again, a low-cost solution to this, which not only will make you happier by introducing an increase in these happy chemicals, but also by decreasing the amount of stress chemicals. I'm not that smart, so I can't name everything, but I think I know enough. So, let me just make sure there's not anything I want to get. Okay. So before, you may have heard me mention a couple times how laughter therapy is not going to cure anything. Well, it's because there's a lot that it can't do, and it's still being researched, I found. And I mentioned this a little in my paper that I did, but I really think that this whole concept needs to be used more. Because while laughter therapy, it can't cure depression, it can't cure your anxiety, it's not going to make your problems go away. None of that. It will help you. And with these studies, they look for a lot of things. They look for how laughter might affect, let's say, your immune system, or how it might affect your pain tolerance. These were all things I found. Another one was blood pressure. That's an important one. And so the reason I didn't talk about them before, like what can laughter therapy do, is because while there are a lot of proposals as to how laughter therapy can help your immune system, your blood pressure, yada, 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 a lot of these things are kind of myth because there are too many variables to pin down what exactly laughter therapy can do. I mean, when you think about it, the people who are being studied with this, they could have anything going on in their lives. You could be showing someone a comedy movie and maybe a relative just died, and so they're not going to get the same effects as someone who's living stress-free. So there's still way more research that needs to be done. I mean, everything I did and everything I researched, I should say, was just, in my opinion, what should be the beginning. I think that with any big boom, like right now there's this big boom in technology and making work efficient, you're gonna need to take other things with it. And one thing is happiness, because happiness, I found, which I think is really cool, directly affects your productivity. So, how it kind of relates to this is while laughter therapy, again, won't cure your things, but will make you happier, that happiness that you can get from it is going to make you more productive in things like work. But hey, what's the point of being happy and productive at work? How's that going to help laughing? Well, I'm happy you guys asked, because if companies started paying more attention to how happy their workers are, their employees, they can increase any given employee's productivity by 12%. This was a study done by, it was University of Winston or something weird. It was English, one of the top 10 schools in the UK. And they found that happy people are 12% more productive. So, in my paper, which you guys can't look up, I have a hypothetical employee who makes a given company $40,000 a year. Now, it would be directly beneficial for that company to then use such things as laughter therapy, which is low cost. So I said, all right, let's say you're spending a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 every year, but then when you're increasing how much that person's going to be productive, you can use it, and it's going to be cool. And I like this, because not only does that tell me that I need to focus on happiness and relaxing because it's going to help me further on, but also if I ever happen to, start some super cool company like, I don't know, we'll make those calendars that have cats and dogs on them, When people need to make a bunch of calendars because there are lots of cats and dogs in the world, I'm going to know to treat my employees better, and I think that's important. So, I'm just about finished. Just about. Do you have any questions? Anything?
Have
Yes.
you ever done any research on comedians and their
Comedians.
health and hook them up, you know what I mean?
There's a lot of
I don't know, I would assume they laugh a lot or they get frustrated.
I did read something where they want, or whatever company or research team wanted to look at comedians and how they went about their day, how happy they were. But actually, this is kind of something that I don't have the facts to prove of. It's more of just, I don't want to say a wives' tale, but it's just, anyways, pretty much a lot of comedians are depressed.
Well,
see
thinking
that,
Robin
yeah.
Williams, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
this.
Robin Williams, people like John Mulaney, these are, yeah, and
I just wrote a paper about that.
and the lovely Wilson wrote a
Or
paper
the
about it.
correlation of comedians.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's cool. I like to think, again, I haven't done any studies, but I like to think that because comedy can help relax the brain and help relax who you are, that by making comedy, by making other people laugh, that satisfaction and that laughter for yourself will, I don't know, it'll help you deal with your things and deal with your problems. That's what I think. That's what I've gathered from my research, but I don't want you guys to leave this room thinking like, oh, so now if I laugh, all of my problems are solved because this weird kid told me. Again, I don't have any degrees. I'm just going based off of things I researched, and there's always more research needing to be done.
You speak to the research and it sounds convincing when you say it. So where was this research done exactly? Are you talking about like hospitals that instituted laugh therapy or?
It would be a lot of places.
Or was there a school where they instituted laugh therapy?
Like,
Where were the sources that you?
I found a lot from nursing homes. Like I said, I was surprised how many cases involved the elderly.
Okay.
Especially in countries like Korea and Japan. I found a lot of studies out of there
Yeah,
trying to help with just people going through
right,
geriatric depression because you get old and your family
Right.
stops calling.
right.
So laughter therapy might help. Yes.
Other than watching a funny movie,
Yes.
what other kinds of activities would they engage the elderly or cancer patients or anybody in general? What other kind of laugh therapies are there? Because I love a funny movie, but if it was like not always TV, what else can I do?
Well, I found a cool case. I hope this will help with your question, where they, instead of showing funny movies and funny clips, they actually trained nurses to clown around pretty much and to be funny. And it helped, like it really did. It actually helped because, again, this was done with geriatric patients.
Oh, okay. I know they do that in children's wards.
Yeah, and
Clowning and the laughing.
Children's, Boston Children's Hospital, my daughter looked around, they always had somebody walking around.
I don't know, it's cool. There's a lot to do, and but yeah, pretty much. If you think that if you're in a nursing home and you're spending all your time with people or the same people, if they're trained to be a little funnier, makes you laugh more, and that did see, better cases of, or not better cases of, but an increase in quality of sleep and quality of life. I think it's cool.
Are you going to continue this research, or was the 16 weeks or 4 months you had enough, or are you gonna continue something like this? Or?
This project actually really did open up a kind of, not a new world to me, but it's made me a lot more interested in science, and specifically biology and chemistry, because I think it's important, even if I want to be an actor, to learn a science and to be skilled with something. And this has definitely pushed me towards that.
Yeah,
because-
I think you're at the tip of the iceberg, as they would say here.
Yeah,
I mean, you got a lot.
Yeah.
I think you can really dig into it a lot deeper,
I hope so, yeah.
Maybe the last one. Do you say everything you know? I'd love to pick your brain. Do you see this as sort of like an elective? Could you make an elective out of comedy writing? I notice you're doing a paper on comedy. You have a young man doing one in there.
Is the shooting screen ready? They're up a
Does
little bit?
theater classes, and a lot of times those theater classes, or at least in theater one, are based around comedy scenes, pretty much sketches.
But not always.
Not
Like
always.
specifically just comedy.
I-
Because I use it in history.
Right,
Can't.
the applications.
Oh, yeah, the applications are.
I think it would be hard, honestly, at a high school level, because we're all teenagers and we're all very self-conscious, and you know, it's easy to have a writing class, or not easy, it's a little easier to have a writing class where you might write a research paper or even write a fiction that's kind of more dark.
Mhm.
But I think to really have high schoolers want to put their sense of humor out there and to deal with that rejection, I think would be really hard. Which is why, but which I think is a good thing, that really good schools like Emerson, colleges, they now have majors where you spend 4 years just writing comedy, and you learn about the ins and outs, and you learn about dissecting it. And I just think with high schoolers it might be hard because we're not matured yet. And I mean, I'm one person who specifically wanted to write sketches, and I, just based on personal experience, hated everything I wrote. And so I just think it would be harder to have a bunch of people, but hey, maybe everyone else would love their writing
Because you
and
have the improv.
not
Well, I
this.
would wonder the support, did you have support, I mean, did you show your sketches to other people, did you have like?
I did. I showed my sketches to the improv group actually, and especially one thing that got me to that is we did a semester, I guess, of writing sketches, which then even further pushed me. So I had people I could go to
I mean,
show
having
it.
a community
Yeah.
around you when you're writing, I think can be really helpful.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes.
Do you think the school could benefit from having an improv class? Not necessarily comedic writing, which might take kids' brains a little bit more, but still just a different way to like relax and like laugh a bit.
I absolutely think all sorts of theater classes are needed. I know theater is like, oh, you're a theater nerd, but we have sports, and I mean, sports, I'm not trying to like knock on them, but there are so many studies that show how getting exercise can help with like test taking skills. So I feel like, hey, I am all for having more money in the arts department to help with another outlet and another way, especially to laugh, like with improv. I think it helped, you know, we're just a bunch of angry, sad
Males.
teenagers, yeah, so anything to make us a little better. Yeah. Any last questions?
We're gonna see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, see the video.
See the video, alright, you guys asked for it. Okay, let's go through,
I didn't write it, he wrote it.
look at all these good memories. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
Alright,
nice.
here we go. So this is, just to quickly introduce it, it's 1,000 Ways to Get Baptized. It's a spoof off of a TV show called 1,000 Ways to Die.
Love that shit.
And it's, you got your hosts, they interview a couple of people about how they got baptized, and I find it hilarious. Hopefully you guys do too. If not, I'm just gonna go cry right now. I'm gonna go over here. This is all planned, by the way. So activate it from over here, and then we're gonna walk across. And here we go. All right.
Hello, it's your host, John California, and welcome back to 1,000 Ways to Get Baptized, the show where we show you the holiest ways the common people have entered the river of God. Let's take a look at our fellow churchgoer, Francine.
I'm 13 years old at my local church, getting ready to be baptized. My mother, oh bless her heart, wanted me to look my best for my big day with Jesus, so she has me wear these curly heels. Now I was not, and still not, a heels person. So I'm stumbling down the aisle towards the priest and completely trip. I fall head first into the bath of holy water. Thank the Lord, the priest had a sense of humor and rolled with me.
Now let's consult our on-set expert priest to verify this baptism.
So you see, in the good book, they never specify that it's not okay to trip into the holy water. So yeah, she definitely got baptized.
God does work in mysterious ways. Now we continue on with our reformed sinner named Cindy.
So back before Skylar and I was married, we used to take a trip up to my lake house, and
I've always been a bit of a conservative type, and we were kissing and we were embracing, and I'd stop it there even before I went to church. And Skylar, he's a real romantic type, so he asked me, he says, do you want to hang with the young men? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I want to go stuff at the beaches. You want to play sports without bathing suit once? Anyway, we have sex on the lake, right? But it turns out there used to be a bunch of nuns that would actually come and pray there, so I guess that makes it holy.
So, yeah, I guess you could say that counts.
Well, guys, isn't that just the kind of love we all aspire for? We're gonna wrap it up with one poor soul named Jackson.
So I'm at this costume party, completely snapped, when this girl in a Wonder Woman costume hands me 2 more shots of tequila. I down them both real quick, and then I realized I'm not gonna make it. Bam! I black out. And when I come to, I'm on the floor. And this guy in a priest costume's peeing on me head to toe. At first I was upset, but then I realized, hey, it's close enough to the real thing. So I guess I'm baptized now.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm a little shaky on whether God and, well, God has his own views on these kinds of parties, but, this guy seems alright.
Next time on 1,000 Ways to Get Baptized, we'll be doing a special crossover episode with popular shows I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant and Deadliest Catch. Until then, God bless you all.
Thanks.
Yeah, while you guys were like studying to become doctors, this is what I was doing, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Alright.
And you just get a nice, brought to you by Bible Television Incorporated. But yeah, that was a sketch I wrote. That was one of them. I also had another Jesus-y one, where it's about these people who see Jesus in the sky, and then like a news team is interviewing people about what they think. And I would have also liked to have done that one, because there's one person like, I don't think it's real. You see how people see Jesus in toast? Just because he's in the sky talking to us doesn't mean God exists. That was fine. Anyways, you guys will. Yeah. Sketch I did. If you guys were laughing, you're probably gonna notice that the inside of your skin was secreting some nitric oxide into your blood system, which is gonna not only increase blood pressure for a little bit, but then decrease it later on. But it's also gonna, make you a little less stressed. But whatever, I barely studied.
Thank you.
Yeah.